So this week I wanted to talk about estate planning. Recently, one of my employees, he was pretty up in age, was battling cancer. He passed away um, just a couple of days ago. A classmate of mine from back in middle school and high school got the news that he passed away. Talked to somebody recently that's having some issues with, kind of taking care of their parents, um, and the strain that that's having on them financially. Um, and then now, we're dealing with this coronavirus, and people are kind of freaking out, and a couple of deaths, have happened. So I just thought it'd be good timing to do an episode on estate planning, and just what it is and why it's important, and just different tips that we can follow to make sure that we're protected, and our children and our parents are protected as well, in the event that something happens to us. So what is estate planning? Basically, it's a plan of how you want your assets to be managed, in the event that you're incapacitated, or you die. So I know everybody says, you got to have life insurance and things like that, which is good. Life insurance is great to have, but you can't think that that's the only thing that's going to cover you or cover your family in the event that you pass away or something happens to you, where you're in the hospital, indefinitely or for a long period of time. And then what about the assets outside of life insurance? What about your house? What about other things of value that you might have? So you want to have a plan for everything. You want to make sure you cover all bases. And what I'm going to do is just go through a couple of tips that I found, because, with all this stuff happening, I'm not going to sit here and say that I already had all this stuff in place, or that I do at this point even. But in my research, I found a lot of things that are going to, in my research, I found a lot of things that I'm going to put in place that can definitely help with the estate plan. So the first step is to list out everything that you have, everything worth $100 or more. You're just going to make a list of those things. Just take inventory of the house, the garage, whatever you have in storage that's worth $100 or more. Put it in a list, and if you want certain things to go to specific people, you make those notes. Okay, so that's one list that you need. The second list that you need is a list of any non-physical items, like brokerage accounts, 401k plans, bank accounts, life insurance policies, other type of insurance policies, long-term care, just, non-physical items, okay? Now, while you're making this list, it's a good time to review the retirement accounts, to make sure that the beneficiaries that you want are listed and assigned properly. You want to make sure they're current and they're up to date. And then one thing talking about retirement accounts is that if you have multiple 401k accounts or whatever, you might want to consider consolidating them into one individual IRA. Just because consolidation, it just allows for better investment choices. You'll have a larger selection of investments. It's just easier to manage. So it makes it easier on you while you're here, and then also it makes it easier on whoever has to deal with it after you're gone. You definitely want to review your life insurance policy as well, because you have beneficiaries on that, and you want to make sure that that's current and up to date, so that there's no confusion there. And then one thing that I found out that I didn't know, on accounts like checking, savings, CD accounts, individual brokerage accounts, there's something you can set up that's called a transfer on death, TOD. And that feature, it allows for the avoidance of the probate process, which can be, long and drawn out and, just kind of confusing. So that's something that you want to consider setting up as well. Transfer on death. So when you die, you already have a plan in place. It's written that this goes to this person. Then you want to also put together a list of any debts that you have. You don't want to have your family dealing with debts that they didn't know about, or that you didn't know about, or they just start popping up out of nowhere, and bill collectors start hitting your family up for this money that you owed. So make a list of the debts, and that way the assets that you leave behind can immediately go to covering that list of debts, and then the remainder can be split up, between the family or however you want, and you can have a plan that outlines all of that, so there's no confusion there either. One other thing that you want to do too, another list, is that you want to make a list of any memberships, any organizations that you're a member of. And the reason that you want to do this, I found that some organizations, they offer assistance when their members pass away or when their members are, incapacitated. So that could be a big help to your family as well. If you belong to an organization that provides that type of assistance, they can immediately contact them and know about that and get the assistance that they would need to cover, like funeral costs, medical bills, things of that nature. So when you have your list, you want to make sure that you sign them. I would advise you make at least 3 copies. One you want to give to your estate planner, whoever that might be. You want another one to go to your spouse, and then you want to keep another copy just in somewhere real safe, like a safety deposit box or something like that. Now you want to make sure you draft a will. Everybody should have a will. If you're 18 or above, you need to have a will, and it's just reality. I mean, tomorrow's not promised to anybody. And you don't want your loved ones to be scrambling trying to figure out what to do, or trying to wonder how you wanted your stuff to be handled. I mean, just put a plan in place, and that way nobody has to wonder. You want to review your will regularly and make updates as needed. So I've always advised, after any major events, like if anything changes with your income or your job, you want to go ahead and review your will. If anything changes, like you have a baby, you get married, anything major, review your will, make sure that it still applies, make any updates that are necessary. So that way you keep that up to date. Another thing too, I mean, it's not a bad idea to consult with an estate attorney. I'm telling you all of this, but this is just off of just real basic preliminary research. But I'm in no way as qualified to give opinions or suggestions as an estate attorney would. So if you want, especially, if you have any type of concerns about, what might happen when you're gone, go ahead and talk to one. I'm sure you could probably find one that do free consultations, or maybe be minimal, or you might have a friend of the family. So just talk with them, talk to an expert. That's always, a good course of action. In addition to a will, that would be kind of good that I want to get in place would be a power of attorney. And that's kind of, I guess, a person that can make decisions on your behalf when it's deemed that you're unable to. Healthcare surrogate, same type of thing. If something happens and you're in the hospital and they're saying that you might need a surgery, or the decision on whether to keep you on life support or not, things like that. You can outline all of that, and that way nobody has to argue about it or wonder. It's already there written. This is what he wants, and this is what we're going to do. People with children. Now, this is important too. You want to have it written and documented of who you want to take care of your children when you're gone. I've had this discussion with Elijah already, so he kind of knows my wishes there. but I also have it written. So have a plan on who you want to assign guardianship of the children to. People that are married, each partner needs to have their own will. And the reason that you want to do that is because you need to have a will so that your surviving spouse knows what to do, and, it's written, and nobody, nobody, like my brother or my sister, they can't come and say that my spouse, my wife, doesn't know what I want because it's written. It's no confusion. I mean, long story short, if you have a will in place, if you have a written plan in place, there's no confusion. Okay, no arguments can possibly occur at that point because you've already established the plan that you want to be followed in the event that you're gone. Last thing is just setting your children up to where they are financially independent and not necessarily dependent on you. That's one thing that I'm kind of focusing on is, just having things that Elijah has that's separate from me, like his gumball machine business. I have certain bank accounts that are set up in his name, just different things like that, will go a long way. Different investments that I have set up in his name. Yeah, just things like that will go a long way to just provide that type of foundation for him that'll make sure that, he can take care of himself. He doesn't necessarily need me when he gets to a certain point. Same thing that I'm trying to do with like a family business, something that when we're gone, it can be carried on and it can provide income and provide wealth to our children and their children and their children's children, and it just keeps on going on. But it all starts with us. I mean, we have to understand that we're not going to be here forever, that anything can happen, and it's all about preparation. If you prepare, then, you don't have to worry about different things, and it makes life more enjoyable just knowing that if I do die today, Elijah's taken care of. He doesn't have to worry about my bills. He doesn't have to worry about my funeral costs. He doesn't have to worry about where he's gonna live. He doesn't have to worry about anything because I made the proper preparation to make sure that things were in order while I was here and while I'm gone. So with everything that's going on, I just advise everybody get your estate plan in place. You never know what's going to happen, and it always makes times like this easier when that plan is in place. All right. Share this, subscribe down below, please. Comment your thoughts. I love the feedback. Make sure you get you a shirt, Banks Balance. You'll see on my site I have a lot of other designs as well, and more designs coming soon. And next week, tune in and we'll have another episode for you. Peace.